Hey everyone, this is the Kubeflow community call for the 24th of March 2026. This is a CNCF project. We have a CNCF code of conduct. Please be nice to each other. Other than that, there's probably less people here today because it's KubeCon EU, so everyone's probably just finishing up for the first day, I think, of it. I think I'd have to check the exact time. So I imagine people are probably out doing things. So for who we have here, we'll try and keep a short meeting. So the main thing that happened was we released 2603 of the manifests, and Tarek, you were just talking about that. Do you want to give an update on the recording?
Yes. Yeah, so we have done or cut the release for the 2603 on Sunday.
Oh, let me
I've
share my
updated.
screen so you can see.
Yes,
Would
thank you, Matthew.
probably be. There we go.
Yes. So those are the versions that made it to the release. So there has been some. I mean, so the major part that was synced was mainly the model registry and the pipelines and the Spark operator, and the KServe as well. So notebooks, dashboards, and trainer are still on same version that as 111. Um, but the trainer 2.2 checks has been passed in the manifest, but just like yesterday, a bit in the evening. So that's one update for the trainer, and then the manifest work for the dashboard and notebooks. This we couldn't finish by the deadline. So there we had yesterday the release team meeting. There are some suggestions that were proposed yesterday. So in the release handbook, we have or the aim is that we need to have like at least two releases, one before KubeCon AU, so it's in March, and then one that's before KubeCon NA in October. But that's as like the two minimum releases. But we we're thinking about having another release that can happen in maybe late April or in May, and that release like the main aim would be for the notebooks and the dashboards, or the dashboard to be in that release as a separate release. Could be 2604 or 2605, depends on when the work would be finalized. So because yeah, we believe that these two components are really beneficial for the community to have, and of course also the trainer 2.2 would also be there. But then this would be like the two must have, so to say, in if we're gonna have like a release before October.
The only concern I have is obviously the hope with trying to set two releases per year was to make it more clear for everyone, both developers and users, uh, that of which ones were supported, when, how long they're going to be supported for, things like that. But
Mhm.
This is my only concern about not calling. If we do allow releases in the middle of the year, uh, what would we do? We need to give it a number, or like is so? Are we intending people to stop using 2603? Is kind of what I'm trying to say.
Mm, Not necessarily, because like one of the benefits of moving to calendar versions is that like the manifest is just a reflection of reality of the components, not more than that, right?
Well,
So what?
it is until maybe as part of this release we should try and move the parts of manifests that are actually really the dashboard into the dashboard repo.
Yeah, that's actually the manifest work. So that because I think also for the notebooks, right? Because the aim is that there should be like standalone, and then the
That's for
manifests are
V2
just.
though. So like the reason part of the anyway, we can talk about that separately. But what I was more saying was like what you're saying is kind of true for like the fact that the manifests are just a reflection of the upstream repos, but there's one or two that there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that I would call configs or whatever they're actually introduced. Not just configs, sorry, that are reference implementations but not required. Namely, the way that auth is done. That could be viewed as just a reference dashboard deployment. Mainly OAuth 2 proxy index. But
I don't disagree, Matthew, but I think like we wanted to get a bunch of stuff in 2603. We didn't make it. I think like a follow-up release just to try to like hit those goals would be a good thing to do. And then 2609 or whatever that is could be the big swinging thing. It's like I hesitate personally, and I do not have decision authority here, but it's like we didn't make the original deadline. I think we should like see that plan through to completion, claim the win there, and then make sure KubeCon NA is polished and has everything that we want. But I'd like, we're kind of in this like partial work stream. I think we should wrap the plan that we had and get that into a stable state. Just my take, right? But I think there's like we had like a nice, in my mind, cutting point there. Let's still focus on getting to that ASAP. And then all of your changes technically are totally valid, and I agree, and I'm behind them. But like, let's not try to now pull those in when we already struggled trying to pull in everything we wanted to 2603.
either way, there's still the question that I was asking Tarek, which is what are we intending people to do? Do we want people to upgrade?
Yeah, I mean, since like if we're gonna have those changes, that would be like a definitely breaking changes, right? So then it's like up to them if they would like to do that. But then, as also like there has been some discussions before that the manifest and installation is not how to say there that there are actually like a commercial distribution. So we will try to do our best to provide like ways for end users to upgrade, like providing like upgrade instructions and so on. But then if it's a breaking change, then it is a breaking change. So because I mean, like otherwise, how we be able to do that? Like our guess was, but like that maybe we don't have to have it as a 2603.1 because then it's a breaking change. So that's why like the proposal was that let's aim for like a complete separate release with its own like upgrade instructions. But then the user will have to do this anyway, right? Even if we gonna release in October, right? It will still be a breaking change.
I wonder then if what I was saying was that we still have it be finalized in October, but we just cut a crazy amount of RCs until that point. Like we do,
okay,
like we actually call this 2609 or 10 or something, and then we just plan to have 6 or 7 RCs up until that point. And
yeah,
because that version is also going to be the first one with notebooks to V2.
okay.
So like, you know what I mean? So like this, there will be 2 breaking changes, if you know what I mean. And it's like, it could be like the next, you know, and we could say to people, and it reflects more reality as well, that you shouldn't use notebooks v2 from the manifests until the final cut, you know.
Okay, so you answer correctly that like
that's just an idea. I'm just saying, not saying that's something we do. I'm just an idea.
Yeah, but I think that's also really a good idea. So you mean that we start the development cycle for the 2609 or 10 as soon as possible, like now, and then keep cutting like RC 1, 2, 3 until we have the deadline or for the next release. Did I say that correctly?
Yeah, and what it means is that if distributions want to do their own validation and release an earlier version, they can. But we still stick to the plan where it's not confusing as to the only negative that kind of breaks our rules here is that we won't be able to patch notebooks v1.10 for 2603. So like maybe we should bring notebooks 1.11 into 2603. That's my only rule there. The dashboard is problematic as well, but yeah, it's just wondering from like a patch perspective. If we wanted to follow our own rules about we do security patches, but because it means that otherwise we're telling people you should use an RC to do a security patch, which is a bit weird.
No, but we can start. I mean, we
need to make the decision before we find it. Because I think also adding a third release is just going to mess the release cycle up for the end of year one if we end up doing an end of year one.
Yeah, I mean, we can discuss that.
Deal with the fact that we missed this release, right? And then maybe the policy is that we do two things. We figure out if we'll ever allow a delay, or if we are literally always going to cut on that date, no matter what, under any circumstances.
Yeah. But I think, we
as to whether we could say, just because of the way that the manifests, what they are, we could say that an RC is actually must exist for a month or two before it actually is allowed to be released. Like that the thing that needs to be cut before KubeCon is actually the RC.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. Just all I'm saying is it's up for people to discuss, but I'm just wondering what my concern about making it, let's say, a 26.6 or something, is that leaves us 3 months. That's a very weird situation for a user. You know what I mean? Like that. It depends on what we're trying to do here. It's not a user actually. It's more like a vendor or whatever. It's like, because we have all these other rules where we try and force people to support new versions and things like that.
Yeah, but I think the idea that you mentioned about like having RCs for the next release, we
like
prepare
really in
from
advance.
now.
Yeah,
that's like super valid.
Either way,
and also, and it's still like also get the benefits of like that there is a branch that contains succeeded CI/CD or end-to-end testing from a manifest perspective. That will still be there. We'll also be able to provide patches for the 2603. So it can be like a new branch for 2609 or 10. We check, and then we still like update that, or that would be like our working branch for the next release, while the main branch is still reflecting the 2603.
This is what Kubernetes does to some extent as well, but like they're an API spec, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Andre, do you want to have an opinion here? Because like we're just saying, my hesitancy about, so the fact that we missed trainer notebooks and dashboard updates in the 2603 release, there was some suggestion that we just release another version in 3 months, but I still think the plan of having 2 releases each year, one before each KubeCon, is better for users and maintainers. And so then the question becomes, how do we create a release that we can point people to if they want to try out the new versions, even if they're not technically the 2603 release? And so we propose maybe what we should do is have a 2609 release candidate cut next month. And then we cut another one the month after that. You know what I mean? Especially because 2609 will be the first one with notebooks v2. And so it's more like you can use it if you wish, but it's like it's an RC, so there'll be some limitations, like there'll be potentially breaking changes you have to deal with. It's just a thought. I don't know if you're there, Andre.
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry, so what was the issue with page 603, Matthew?
Well, it's just that we didn't hit notebooks v1.11 or dashboard v2 or trainer 2.2 in it. It was cut. Like whether or not it should have been cut is a separate question, but it was cut.
You mean from the manifest branch, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, I thought you kind of released the notebooks before it.
We did, but there
So
was some things that hadn't there was some things that weren't working.
okay. So my suggestion is just create a patch release, right? 26.03.1.2.3.
Unfortunately, it didn't get like that would be possibly okay for notebooks, but for dashboard, it's a breaking change.
Yeah, but I mean, I think Julius he said, I mean, as long as it is kind of like, important for end users, we're gonna have a breaking changes in Apache releases, in Apache version, sorry. If you take a look at the release handbook, this is what we say right now.
Is that the case? Is that a good idea?
This is what Julius proposed, and I think this is what we have right now. So
That's very, but what does that mean from a user perspective then? Like, what does that mean the date means?
yeah, so I mean, we can definitely iterate again. This is a new thing for us, right? The monthly, releases which has dates on it, right? And it's up to us, the community, to decide how we're going to maintain the patch releases. But I don't see any huge problem for us to, for now, right, to have
It's
a
very
breaking change in the.
confusing from a user perspective, but I mean, but then at that point, do we even have dates anymore? That's kind of what I'm saying. It's like, if at that point, why not just bump it to 2605 and then, but then like, I think that loses the point where we're trying to convince people to upgrade twice a year.
Yeah. So again, things can happen, right? Time to time, we as a community can decide what we're gonna do. But my recommendation is to teach to the dates, right? Stick to the dates at least this year and next year, and see how it goes.
So what do you mean? So the next release is what?
Yeah, like if we want, I mean, if like your working group and also the release working group decide to have a patch release with the dashboard fixes, I think I'm fine with it. Next month, my suggestion is to have 26 or 11, right, before KubeCon, or 10, like whatever we decided before.
I mean, we can, but what we're doing is establishing a pattern that the dates have no meaning, that the date versions have no meaning.
What do you mean by that? This have no meaning?
It's literally a change where you cannot upgrade in place the dashboard. You must delete your old dashboard and profile controllers.
Yeah, but I mean, why? So first, let me ask you, why do you want to upgrade the dashboard? Is it the bug, or like what's happening?
There's security patches, every change that the reason it's a breaking change because it was impossible to maintain the old ones. Like,
so
it's
why
because
we cannot consider it as an important security fix? We must release as a
you
patch
can. It's
fix.
just that
right?
Yes, we should. Yes, I would agree with that sentiment. It's just that it's very user intensive. It's just that's what I'm saying. So like the users could accidentally do something crazy if they don't realize it. I mean, to be clear,
Yeah,
we
but I
we
mean,
could
yeah.
maybe
Go ahead.
try and automate that migration, but it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah, so my suggestion is to have a patch version. I don't know, like, what others think on this.
I mean, maybe that's the solution. Maybe the solution is for us to try and, within reason, create a job which tries to rectify the state of the cluster, even if you do accidentally apply it in place.
I'm not sure about the right delivery mechanism. I think like we just need to get this stuff like ready first. And like if we get to a point where like we feel like we can ship this, then we can kind of talk about that delivery mechanism, you know what I mean?
Notebooks v1 should be fine to do in place. Notebooks v2 obviously is an alpha, so it's different. No, dashboard v2 is the problematic one, and I imagine is trainer non-breaking, right? Not breaking from a manifest perspective.
From the API perspective, it is breaking change, right?
Mm.
Like users have to upgrade the API. If they use the API, we did break, right?
But manifests don't break, right?
Yeah, the control plane is different, right? Control plane is different.
Because this is really the versioning we're talking about here is for the manifests, right? Because I'm talking about like dashboards, user-facing changes. There is no significant user-facing changes. The manifest changes. The operator, the ones that the versioning that the operator is looking at is the 26 one. Is kind of what I'm saying. But again, if we establish the pattern that patch releases might be breaking, I mean that's fine. It's just we need to agree that that's something. It's maybe not intuitive when someone looks at the versioning. That's all.
So yeah, I was against patch version have a breaking changes, right? But if it is a important security fix that we must patch, like this is not, this is what we need to do, right?
Because yeah, we need to get it into a state where we can do security patches, and unfortunately, we can do that for V1 in place. That's what I'm saying. That's fine. Notebooks V1, but dashboard needed a V2 because it was really crazy. So. And this is the manifests had to change because they hadn't been restructured in 7 years.
So anyway, like my recommendation is to have breaking, patch release for the dashboard, and the release team just help us to cut the manifest tag for it. That's it.
We do need to discuss whether we have a job or something that tries to unbreak your cluster if you accidentally upgrade in place. But okay, I mean, we can talk more about this. Either way, it's not going to happen for, let's say, a month. So that's, I guess, the next question. When are we planning to do that patch release?
I mean, I think we have to turn the question on ourselves, right? When do we think that dashboard and notebooks will be ready? I know we said
ready-ish right now. It's just that they need to be synced in. And then, unfortunately, we found that things had been changed in the manifests without being changed upstream. So then we need to port those changes back upstream.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, it's like not like, ready. It's like we need to be ready, not ready-ish, I guess is like the key thing. So it's like I feel like we have to grind on that first to give a green light of we're good. And then we can kind of figure out, patch release or what. I would like to think in like, a week's time we'll be ready, but that, kind of relies on right now, unfortunately, availability of, me, you, and Christian. And that's been in short supply in the past month, unfortunately. So it's like, yes, it's not insurmountable technical problems, but we have to get together and deliver and get over these issues that, got in our way.
Tarek.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Andy actually. So that like whenever the notebooks and the dashboards are ready, then we will take it like either be patch release for 2603 or like RC for the
Definitely we need an RC
2609.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh no. Okay, which one do you say? So you mean 26 like
I mean,
03.1 RC1 definitely, right? At least first.
yeah, I mean, it will like so from the discussion that we had yesterday in the release team meeting was that we just need to have something in between so that we can include trainer and notebooks and dashboard. So currently, like the trainer is ready. Notebooks and dashboard, there's still some work that we can or we need to do. So once this is ready, then we can like discuss that. We can also have Julius and see like how can we do that in the manifest. In the meantime, I mean, we can have a new branch for the upcoming release so that we are able to deliver security batches for 2603 without including new versions that introduce breaking changes. So, but I think we really need Julius to also decide that. I cannot speak for him for that. But my recommendation would be that we just create a new branch that will be for the upcoming release 2609, and then just keep delivering on that release, creating RCs from that branch, and keep the main branch reflecting 2603 so that we can deliver security patches as they go, because otherwise we will not be able to deliver security patches.
I think reversing that is probably the other best way to do it, but you know what I mean? But like making it so that 2603 is its own branch, because it already is. Right?
Yeah, but then okay, and then keep creating the security patches towards
So
that.
well, that's the question. Are we going to do us? I think either way, as a way so that we can be more ready for the release next time, we should probably agree that the first RC. I don't know if Julius will want to do a RC of 2610 for at least a couple months, because what would it? It doesn't have anything in there right now, you know. But maybe what we do is when the first major change that someone wants to get in for RC1 happens, then we do the cut of the first RC.
But sorry, Matthew, wouldn't that be like dashboard being ready, which could
I mean,
be
that could be in this case, but if we're
Okay.
just pretending like we're fixing history where we should have released, where effectively 2603.01 is the one we intend people to use. You know what I mean? People take months to update things anyway, so like if we just have that as our goal for dashboard, that's fine. But then going forward, we won't do that again. You know. Any other thoughts there, Tarek? Sorry. Like,
Hmm.
what I was saying is we wait and we do the dashboard in V1 and notebooks V1 in the 2603 branch, but which means also coming through master as well. And then what we do is as soon as some working group has a version they want to release for 2609 or whatever, we cut that branch and then have a future release so that people can test it out there. You know.
Yeah, that also sounds good.
But then obviously the expectation for the RCs is that truly you might have to delete your whole cluster to upgrade or some crazy thing in the future. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But I think we also need to
because the obvious one, by the way, is notebooks. Like
yeah.
V2. Like the obvious one for 2609 would be that maybe, and honestly, maybe we have that right now. Maybe that's actually what it is. Maybe, okay, actually, that we can, I'd say next month then, we can probably cut a 2609, which contains, which like removes the notebooks V1 manifests and has the alpha right now of notebooks V2. You know? Andy, thoughts there? Like, that means that, like, yeah?
I guess the problem with this approach, you have to cherry pick a bunch of powerful manifest to the release branch, right?
Yeah, it is a little bit painful unless, yeah, okay. You're right. From a Git perspective, it's a little bit painful. But as long as they're separate folders, like the way things are structured, there could be a bit of a merge conflict on the some of the customized stuff, but that's like the example ones and notes. Yeah. Well, I mean, even just having having the RC there so that we, as we keep going throughout the year, can release what we would call testing versions of Notebooks V2, I think is valuable. But that's for Julius and others to agree on, I think. But anyway, so what I'm saying is I think we agreed on a plan for the things already, which is that if Julius agrees and Tarek agrees, we should just do 2603.01 as the intended version, effectively. Like, and we should probably tell people that that's coming, which will have a breaking change. We'll try our best to make us. We'll break the clusters ourselves and see what happens when you do upgrade in place and try and make a script which, if you use the upstream manifests for 1.11 or 10, you know, what do you end up with, and try and unscrew the state of the cluster for you. But then going forward, we'll try and cut an RC as soon as there's something that we want to cut for the 2609. And I think that would be Notebooks V2, right? So probably.
And the breaking change of the dashboard is because we modify some of the cron job we run.
No, it's just the whole manifests are restructured so that they actually are correctly done. Like they were.
Okay.
It's effectively the safest plan is to when you upgrade is to delete the. You probably can do some stuff in place, but you'll end up with a lot of extra bindings and resources and stuff that you shouldn't have there that are bad.
Like the biggest one, Andre, like component names have changed. You know what I mean? Where we pull, I mean, you know, technically breaking changes of like not using Kubeflow anymore. Just like, you know, kind of it's all these kind of things. But there's like a good chance that you could have like a split brain situation if you just naively deployed dashboard.
Oh, and
on
yeah,
an
that's another thing as well. The existing notebook profile controller did not correctly lock, so you could have two of them running. And in fact, the current state will be that it will try and have two of them running.
So why not just having update instructions in that case?
Well, we
on
will.
Judith's
That's
side?
yes, we will.
So because like, you know, I know we kind of like say we support upgrades in the Kubeflow manifest, but sometimes it can be dodgy, right? Especially for this huge upgrade, right? When we move the components, right? So maybe having the clear instructions should be a way for users, right?
Yeah, it's more like yes, we should definitely try doing it the naive way so that if someone accidentally does it, we know how we need to figure out what happens in that case. Definitely. Okay. Anyway, I think we're probably talked about this enough. What else is there to talk about here? So, anyone got any other topics?
Yeah, I
So
mean, one thing also like about the release video. So there was some suggestion that maybe we don't have to have release video, and the blog post for the release that maybe is sufficient. So that was also something that was raised yesterday. I want to have more opinion about this. Should it? We checked like the view counts on the YouTube video for the release and so on, and we believe that maybe the blog post should be sufficient because it takes a lot of time for the release team to create this video. We currently only have Matthew who was supporting us for the creating and rendering of the video. So maybe so we wanted to check like opinion about having this video.
is the blog post done? It is, right?
It's being prepared by Danisha, the product manager. But for the video, this is like was an open question. Should we have that or not? The recommendation from the release team was that maybe the blog post.
Yeah, I mean, definitely video is a nice thing to have, but I understand it requires a lot of work from you guys to synchronize across all the working groups, right? But looking at our popularity of Kubeflow channel, it looks fine. So this is definitely something, you know, maybe even more interesting than a blog post. But I think I would suggest maybe after KubeCon you ask for, you know, Valentina, Yash, or Vitara can volunteer for this, right? Because even like for the videos like we published 11 days ago, it has some views there.
I mean,
Yeah.
I think the blog.
I think
is
it's
the
also
minimum,
yeah, but I mean it's also an opportunity for us to actually announce this kind of new yearly releases, right? And you think we do, so
Yeah.
maybe nice thing to have.
Yeah, but I think maybe we can like change the format so that let's say the release video could be instead of it's the only the release team or the liaisons and the release manager and so on that's doing that. Maybe it would be like during a community call and then that we prepare the slides, we go through the slides, and that would be the release video.
I think we did that 1 or 2 times ago, but yeah, I mean, it's editing it so it's snappy sometimes is better, but yeah, we could at least edit that community meeting down maybe, so that it's a bit faster. I think the problem we had last time, sorry, I remember, is that not everyone's in the same time zone, so not everyone can attend. Not everyone who necessarily would want to present can present. They may still have to record their piece.
I think it's a good idea. Like, it's a good idea if we have a slides and use one of those meetings in the future to record a video, right? I mean, at least for those who can attend, and who cannot attend, they can just record themselves, and then we can edit it.
Yeah, I'm not against it. I think it's fine. But what's the timeline for that? So we need to get the blog out as soon as we can.
Yeah. So the blog, I think that would be. I haven't got like last stages from Danisha. But then the video that was like up for discussion. But then maybe as Andrew mentioned, we can also discuss it in the next community call about like the format. I mean, the thing that it's the recording itself. Valentina did that for the previous release, and then Matthew helped in the edits. I think the thing that takes most of the effort is the editing part, and then collecting or like doing it piece by piece or component by component. It would, if we've just changed the format, then it would be much more easier. So that was thinking about just recording from a community call. We can prepare the slides, and then the listeners can also present in the community call, and then use that recording as the release video, and then just like cut it that it only contained the release part.
I mean, just giving people a date is usually the best way to make people do things. And if people don't want to show up to that meeting, I guess it's always open source is open source, right? People people contribute for all sorts of reasons, and even if they have something amazing to talk about, they may not want to for various reasons, because maybe they're just in it for making cool stuff, you know. I guess. I'm not against having a community meeting where we offer the maintainers a chance to present their thing, and if they don't want to present, we ask that they at least provide notes, so that someone like Tarek or you could, just like we do for the KubeCon maintainer slide thing, because some people just may not want to talk or may not be able to for various reasons. So I think it's not unreasonable. Any other topics on that then? So pretty much next steps is blog. Should we mention the fact that there's going to be a patch release in the blog? Probably, but separate.
Yeah, we can. Yes.
With some changes that were missed in 2603. So if you're a big company and waiting to upgrade, maybe wait a month. But okay. So that definitely we should do that, by the way, to put the thing in the blog. But okay. Next then, anything other than that?
One topic that I thought we may want to talk about is the whole thing around the Trivy incident. So is there anything left to be done from like a incident response perspective?
Yeah, so there was a compromise in Trivy upstream, which is like a security scanning tool that some projects use. If you were on a compromised version, I think it ripped your secrets out of your repos, right? What it was doing. So obviously we need to
this is also the thing that was used to compromise, for example, the Light LLM project. That they had injected a few malicious statements into a pip release that wasn't a token obtained by the Trivy info steal.
Yep. Okay, so in that vein, I think we should review all the secrets in all of our repos and rotate all of them. So there's a very small number of them, but the main ones that I would imagine would be Docker repo ones. So we should rotate all of those at least. And Andre, do you want to help export a list of the secrets at some point? Yeah, that'd be good. Cool. We'll work together with that. And we'll go to the working groups that own secrets and make sure they get rotated. Other than that, obviously, we talked about various mitigation strategies for how to mitigate it in the future. I think there's one approach, which is just hard pinning. To be clear, I think in this case, even doing this, the GitHub action pinning would not have fixed the problem, right? Because it was a compromise of their Docker tag, right? Is that correct? Like in this case, I think what I'm saying is that the GitHub the actual action was set to pull the latest image or something like that, and then the image itself was compromised, and that was actually the problem. So there is no way we could have prevented this other than not using Trivy, is what I'm trying to say in this particular case.
I think there is, I don't know if it's Trivy, but one of our other security scanning tools, I forget which, does like recommend SHA pinning anyway. So I mean, I completely appreciate and understand that wouldn't have helped us here, but I think the SHA pin thing is probably like a good best practice anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, so the SHA pinning, so there's obviously the question of whether we SHA pin things from official GitHub sources as well, right? So like there's like anything that starts with actions. This is a question for the community to discuss, right? Because like if we're just going to be like, because I think the potential is that we actually have security issues that we might encounter more security issues by pinning in that case than by not pinning, because we might miss vulnerability fixes, if you know what I mean. But I guess it just depends on how we're doing it.
I mean, it all depends on the security model you're going for. And I think being prepared for not updating is not a valid security model. I think we should always be ready to like upgrade our dependencies. And in so being able to check them is not a bad thing. So I would advocate to pin them, but then use something like Dependabot to update them on a regular basis and not just every, I don't know, 3 years like we do right now.
So I guess this is what I'm saying. Like you end up with a large amount of Dependabot updates. The other option, or you could just renovate, more likely would be better, I think, in this case. But the other thing is, I think I've seen some projects have a there's a mode in GitHub. I'm not saying we should do this, but there's a mode in GitHub which says you're not allowed to use GitHub actions that are not hosted in repos in the org. And then we effectively fork all of their projects and authorized. Like, I think the only way that would actually improve security is that, to some extent. And then we all pin to some version from there. Of course, there's versioning problems there with like breaking API changes. And for example, like think about the actions./checkout. What do we do with that one? You know what I mean? Like the first step in every GitHub action. Like, are we just going to pin the SHA of that? Like, do we think that GitHub's going to compromise there?
I mean, my answer would be yes. If you want to SHA pin for sake of being controversial. But like, you know what I mean? That's and like, you know, Christian said, I don't think that needs to, there's, you know, automation and stuff to keep these things updated, whether it's a floating tag or a commit SHA. Jumping to a later one is,
what about
you know what I mean?
branches as well? Like, because release branches, the problem is that these GitHub actions live in each branch.
Shall we? But what is the problem actually to rely on SHA instead of version for every GitHub actions we use?
Well, it's not
I mean,
problem.
If we fix like if we use later version in a non-release branch, then this is a change and we can just backport to the release branch. I don't quite see the issue.
Mm-hmm. So I know because, for example, Dependabot supports SHA as well, so it can update it can pin the version by using SHA in the GitHub action.
Yeah, I mean it can. But there's two questions there. Is like, but that's preventing. So the specific, what security benefit is that providing? That's always what you should question, right? So the security benefit in that case is that someone commits, because the way that GitHub Actions is done is you reference normally an @v something tag with the major version only. That means that what happens is the creators of GitHub Actions change the definition of that tag, or they have a branch called that. So by SHA pinning, what you're doing is making it so that you're still going to pick up the change as soon as you merge that commit. And I don't know if we're going to actually look at the diff, right? That's kind of what I was.
Yeah. So from my understanding, I know what was the full mitigation, but if I remember correctly, like it was the version upgrade, malicious version upgrade in Trivy, right? And then the company removed this version, right, after some time. That is why, because this was a malicious version. Like, do we know if they did it actually? Like this, I think 0.64, or I don't exactly remember the version.
So
That's
what do you mean?
good. Because I mean, if I remember correctly, the problem was that someone was kind of like maliciously added the version, right? Trivi version, which has the code which can expose secrets. And because this action we use, I think it's from Aqua, right? Aqua action we use, it depends on this version. Like we get this vulnerability, but after some time, like if I remember correctly, they just kind of deleted
Yes.
this version, right? Yeah, and then all of the action starts to be broken, right?
I mean, another mitigation in this case is that by default, we make it so that we change the GitHub settings on the. Effectively, we make a requirement that any GitHub action with privileged access, say to secrets, requires sharpening, and not others. Because
I
if
just
they
like
didn't
I
have
feel
access
like
to
we're like
secrets-
over optimizing here with like all of these rules to do, right? I mean, like the reality in my mind is we haven't updated GitHub Actions in like 2 to 3 years. And so worrying that using SHA pinning is going to make our upgrade story more difficult in practice is kind of over rotating on a problem that, we need to be better about handling anyway. The status quo was not good. And I think from an open source perspective, some of these things have SHA pins, some have not, is like really confusing to reason and ration about. So I don't know why we'd want to make it more confusing or leave it to contributors to get that wrong versus just
What I'm saying is, I
use.
don't think it would like my humble opinion is that with the exception of ones that are not coming from GitHub Actions themselves, I don't know how much security benefit. Like Trivi should have always been more worried. We should have always been more worried about them as well.
I think generally the take is that by pinning the SHA-ZOOM instead of the Git tag, you cannot override it after the fact. So we're at least more secure of things changing after the fact.
Yes.
And I think having a more reproducible environment, especially in CI, is never a bad thing.
Yeah, also, so back to your point, Andy, around haven't updated. So we deconfigure dependable for China, for example, for Kubeflow SDK. And this dependable automatically pin the version for us. And I think I remember, Trivia has this problem even before, not right now, like it has problem in February, right? So March 2nd. And what I've done, I kind of like manually, use SHA for Trivia, right? To ensure it's Kristen said, like we kind of like have a static commit there, right? Which
Yeah,
probably
but then
is
also
better.
you maybe accident. So if this tag here is
Yeah,
compromised,
yeah,
you're
that's
still
right.
screwed because this so in this case, this is what was compromised as far as I'm understanding.
Yeah,
right?
that's correct. Yep, yep.
So like what I mean by that is the binary source was and so that is the most likely. Again, I think actually committing to a Git repo would be reverted very quickly on any largely used Git action, or we would not notice it because like we're not, even if we have a SHA pin of here. First off, this may not actually correspond to anything in some repos. Unfortunately, there like for a lot of SHA GitHub actions, there is no obvious versioning.
But shouldn't be always the commit for the every version for GitHub action, like the tech version?
Whatever the latest one is, sure. Yeah, it's so most of them though is like, for example, this one. Are you going to SHA pin this one? Right? You know what I mean?
We
Like-
can, right? I mean, can we? Can we? Or
I mean,
like, what is the
you
problem?
can, yes. It's not that you
Yes.
can't. It's just like, does this like my perspective here is that this would not have been a problem. In fact, on our repo, on dashboard and notebooks, I don't think this is a problem because we've got the setting, I think, set that they can't see secrets by default. So,
Yeah, but let's do one thing and not leave out the other.
but I'm saying is
I don't.
maybe,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is I think the thing that actually provides the most benefit is making it so that the GitHub action does not have any permissions by default, and then you have one that at the top here says permissions. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, like for example, if this repo
If that doesn't break too much.
well, that's the thing. It will break stuff, but actually, all the security scans by code, whatever, actually suggest doing that. By the way, you know how like we've got the security alerts. I'm sure people have seen them.
Those same checks also say to SHA pin though. So it's
I'm
like
not
I
saying
feel like
not to
we're
do that
kind
as
of
well, but I'm just saying like in this case, the only thing that would have actually prevented this guaranteed. Let's say this stayed vulnerable for a week, right? And we merged the pull request, which brought the vulnerable version in. The actual solution was ensuring that this GitHub action never had the ability to even get the secret information or commit to the repo, for example, right? Like this
Yeah,
repo,
but the problem,
Yeah,
like the problem is some of the GitHub actions require the right access to.
okay, and so
to
then
the
now the question is, what do we do with those ones? The ones that actually, so like the 3 or 4 ones that actually need secret information, what do we do with those?
Yeah.
Or the ability
So
to
I
commit to the
think
repo.
so. Do you know if they support SHA in the version binary here, or they don't?
Well,
Like-
I don't know, right? That's a good question.
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
if they
you can
do,
always
Mhm.
reference a Docker image by SHA-SUM as well. But at some point, it just gets a bit annoying to maintain.
Yeah, it's unclear what this corresponds to, and also people. I think probably, because it's so easy to accidentally pull. Like as a project, I think we should not be pulling unapproved GitHub actions into flows that have privileges, right? Or even just at all, but because there is a setting on GitHub which lets you do that. I mean, at minimum, I think what's at minimum, I do think we need to make sure that we actually go through and audit the permissions of each workflow. I think that's the most important thing we should do. Sharpening, sure. I just think that it might provide a false sense of security in some sense.
I think it is a valid part of an established threat model, given the advisories from people that know security. So I think it's not the thing that we should rely on, but it's something that we should do. Yes.
We should probably have a report that we have the security people review, which is all the GitHub actions currently used in any branch in the project. And look for any Docker containers they depend on, and look for any, and look for their versions. You know what I mean? At very least, we should look at that, and we should automate that probably.
Yeah, but I think for the given problem, like one is the outlook thing, and the other one is how do we deal with what already has happened? And I think the priority should be to make sure that like no information or no secrets were stolen from us.
Yeah. So yes, rotate
and
secrets.
then
Yes.
yeah, and also I think not only rotate secrets, but also review whether those credentials have been used in a meaningful way.
Sure.
Because like I don't know, a Docker token, as you said, might have already been used to override an image.
Yeah,
it's a good
actually,
point.
hmm.
Oh,
I mean,
also,
because
we use GitHub Container Registry as well, to be clear. So
yeah, but I mean, I just like there's a security incident in one of the popular AI libraries as well that was mainly due to this kind of attack. So some of the previous versions have been overridden with like malicious scripts. So fully agree with Christian that maybe we need to I don't know how, but we need to spend some time on
No,
looking into this
actually,
because
it should be. Yes, sorry to interrupt, right? So I think it should be very straightforward. I should actually delete all the secrets, and I should delete also the tokens in the Docker Hub, right? So this token won't be valid. It might break all of the CI across all the repos for some time, but at least like we mitigate the risk, right?
yeah, yes.
it mitigates Docker ones, but most of our images are on GitHub Container Registry. So what we actually need to do is check. We know in this case it was Trivy that was compromised. We should check the permissions on every Trivy action to confirm it did not have access to push images to GitHub Container Registry, which would be packages right. And
You mean
so
a
any
review
repo
like
that does not have right disabled by default
Could we check what is the default permission for push?
You have to check it on each one, but we can.
No, but I
let's
mean,
do
I
that
think
off
this.
the recording.
Yeah, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, let's do it after the recording. Anyway, cool. I'm gonna stop the recording so we can keep talking about that. Okay. Thanks everyone for coming. Hopefully we solve the problems we talk about. Did it stop? Maybe.
Nope, not yet.
Okay. I clicked the button and it's like not doing it.